Before we jump in, a warning that we are an explicit book podcast.
Yes, that means swearing, shitty jokes, and a whole lot of dark humour that some may take offence to.
Please check your trigger warnings on all of the books we cover.
You've been warned.
The episode starts in 3, 2, 1.
A book and a bear.
Good evening, gentle bitches, gentle bros, and my gentle non-binary hoes. Welcome back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another episode of A Book and a Bev. We are your favourite book podcast, and we're back to cover another Book Talk book. This is a viral sensation, and we do have a list of all the ways that this book is just phenomenal. We would actually beg for this book, the three of us. That is how amazing it is. Speaking of the three of us, it is Ellie, Briony, and Georgia with you here, and we would let this book destroy us voluntarily. It is that good. With that said, it's time for The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent.
It's so good. Just the name, I'm already like, ugh.
I mean, the name seems a little long for me. What's the shortened? Because we've obviously got Akatar, Tog.
I think it's TSATWON.
TSATWON.
SATWON.
Okay, well, I can deal with that. All right, so what are we drinking?
Look, when I first did my notes for this, I was like, your girl is on a cleanse, she's being sober, and that was because I got actually quite hungover from doing a live on TikTok last weekend. But that time has passed, and so we are now drinking a sparkling Shiraz, which, FYI, the last time I drank this was when we did our From Blood and Ash episode. And if you remember how I got on that, this should be good.
Well, I feel like I've traded lives with Briony in like a weird Freaky Friday kind of tale because I'm drinking gin. What is this madness?
Lindsay Lohan, who is she?
Exactly right. And I've made it way too strong and I'm suffering with every sip, but I'm here for the journey.
I appreciate that.
We're also here for your journey. Well, I am having Mountain Dew.
Oh.
Because I have a very big weekend of drinking and I've had a very big weekend previously of drinking, so I feel like I need a little bit of a break. And I also only have like minimal alcohol in my house because I've just gone through it all like a fucking tornado. So yeah, I am not drinking tonight. However, I will be living through YouTube. So fuck it up.
Well, on that note, what were our thoughts of this book?
Well, finally, a book that has gone viral but actually lives up to the hype, right? This book was just a smash, honestly. I could not put it down. I adored the amount of plot and lore and backstory, the trials, the magic, the angst, tension, and of course, the violence. It has been so long since a fantasy book has just hit like every mark for me, and this one nailed it. I do want to say that I was unsure if we wanted to fuck our dad for like 80% of the book, so that was a bit unsettling given that we did find out he is our actual father.
I'm so surprised that you went with that. I'm normally the one that's picking up like what the old guys are putting down, but not in this one.
But also, bring on book 2, which is technically, as we're recording this, that is being released tomorrow. So you better believe we're going to be covering it ASAP.
Well, to me, this book was as epic as the second half of A Court of Thorns and Roses. It had all of the violence and the action and the witty banter with the potential love interest without the stale bread that is Tampon. I adored all the characters and the complexities of their relationships. I loved like the slow burn to the annihilation that was their first time together. Just perfect. The word annihilation was used. And also, I didn't like outright guess the plot halfway through, which is always a good winner for me.
Same!
I had ideas of where it would go. Like, I thought she would do the whole connection bond switchy thing with Rain. I thought that's where it was going. Yeah. Anyway, pleasantly surprised. However, Rain is Jamie from Outlander, and you cannot tell me otherwise.
Oh, Jamie from Outlander. Oh my God.
Well, I honestly did not expect to love this book as much as I did. It gave me the same feelings that I had when I first read Akatar, and like it just had everything that I needed. So it had the angst, it had trials, it had violence, it had star-crossed lovers, it had enemies to lovers, and it had absolute fucking heartbreak. I needed needed a fantasy series to keep me up the arse, and this one definitely did it. Sometimes I forget how damn good a fantasy can be when it's written brilliantly. Like the choreography of the fight scenes, the imagery of how places, people, and emotions were described. It was literally written to perfection for me. I loved it. And now, you know, I get the hype. Like, I get the hype of Carissa Broadbent, and I want to read everything that she's ever written in her entire life, and I will.
Absolutely.
I will get through it all. I'll do it.
Prepare for this podcast to go on that train with you.
So we do have a few important notes to start you guys off with for this book. So essentially, this book, there's 5 trials, okay? They're in this competition to become like number one dick, like number one man of the group, okay? Like picture Jax Taylor and Vanderpump Rules. I'm the number one guy in the group.
That's what vampires.
Vanderpump Vampire Rules. This is where we're at.
Yes!
Okay, here we are. We've got 5 trials. We've got 1 human up against 49 vampires. Who is going to take home the trophy and become this season's America's Next Top Model? Strap in, we're about to find out. It's taking a weird turn. There's no prize in Vanderpump Vampires.
Fuck my life.
Well, let's get into a description of our characters that we meet along our journey here. So we have Aurea. Pretty name. She's our female main character. She's gorgeous. She has long, dark hair, pale skin. She's kind of Elena Gilbert if she wasn't a twat.
Coming for Elena Gilbert.
You know, she's a badass. She's got magic abilities, although her magic is shy at times. She's human, but she was adopted into the vampire life. So, you know, she's why not both, as we say on this podcast. Then we get Rain, like a stormy day. He's a hottie with a body with his wings to match. And again, Jamie from Outlander, prove me wrong. His bestie is Mish. Not Michelle, Mish. Drop the L. She is the vampire equivalent to a golden retriever. Beautiful, adorable. Yes. We love her. Then we have Daddy, aka Vincent, who is the king of vampires currently, and we can confirm we will not fuck him. Okay? Blood relation.
Yeah, noted.
Don't go there.
Noted.
Confirmed.
Then we have Nyaxia. She is the goddess, okay? We don't really care about her. She's kind of relevant. Not really. We're not going to get into that. We also have some side players popping up here and there. We've got Angelica. She's from Rugrats. Not sure why she's here, but we fucking hate her. Angelica's boyfriend is Ivan. He appears at some points and he stabs some people. That's really all we need to know about him. There's also this weird guy whose name's similar to Septum. It's not. Septimus, there we go. He is just a fucked up vampire, really. There's quite a few of those in this book.
He's a vampire with an STD when you think about it.
Pretty well. That's some angry form of chlamydia that those vampires have
really
got.
is.
My favourite character, personally, is Alana. She dies very quickly in this book. She just gets taken. She is what I would like to be as an old woman, just calling everyone a cunt and just being happy with that.
FMC, how do we say her name? I was switching between Araya and Araya. I don't know.
I'm thinking Araya's son.
Yeah, and I'm thinking we're Australian, so it's Aurea because we're bogan.
Araya.
Not to be confused with her distant cousin Aranga, but
no.
So we begin the book with a prologue and we get this quote. The king did not know that his greatest love would also be his ruination, nor that either would come in the form of a tiny, helpless human child.
I get why you think that he's going to fuck her.
Teeny, whiny baby.
Greatest love. I mean, not as the baby, but as...
Yeah, not as the baby. I do need to clarify. I thought maybe it was going to be like an unfortunate grooming thing, and I don't say that in a good way. Like, not like, I was excited for grooming, but like in a... I thought that's the vibes I was picking up.
We are introduced to said little girl and 3 soldiers of the Nightborn King. They are going to eat her, not in the nice way, but she bites them first. She does what literally all of us women want to do when a man touches us without our permission. She hisses and tries to bite their finger off.
I love her.
Picture perfect. The king rocks up and he's like, halt, this bebe is now my child and I shall protect. Sick. That's the summary of the prologue. You're fucking welcome.
Oh my god.
So we then flash to current time in the book and we're following our girl, Araya. She's doing a quiet, like, vigilante thing and she's killing bad vampies on the low-low.
The low-low?
We are introduced to Ilana and Vincent. Ilana is an older lady who is used as like a blood bag to the vampires, but is also a very, very close friend to Araya. As we've said, Vincent is the king and he's like family, and we get this interchange between Ilana and Araya, and I just fucking love it. So it's, don't drink yourself to death, you old hag. Don't skewer yourself with that stick up your ass, she retorted, wiping her eyes, all hints of her earlier vulnerability gone. Crazy old bitch, I thought affectionately. We learn that Vincent trains Araya ruthlessly and isn't afraid of anything, except he is afraid for her. And we also learn about the Kajari, which is basically a tournament run by the goddess Nyaxia, like Niagara Falls, except not at all.
Except not at all.
Like Niagara Falls, but with an axe?
Yeah. It's just actually instead of water falling down the falls, they're just axes. So we get this interchange. The man who was afraid of nothing was afraid for me, his human daughter raised in a world designed to kill her. Until the Kajari, a tournament with the ability to change everything. Until I won and it freed me. Or I lost and it damned me.
Ooh,
sick.
Lost some high stakes.
We learn about Piage vampires who have bat-like wings and the Rishan, which is the rival Nightborn clan. We learn that Nyaxia created vampires over 2,000 years ago, so like, she's just out here doing goddess things. Good on her. Look, there are worse things out there. I mean, she could have done something better. Like, she could have just, like, solved climate change, you know. But no, she's like, you know what will help this? Vampires.
But remember, she's actually a bit of a cunt because she likes the Nightborn clans fighting against each other.
She likes her children fighting, that's right. It's like sometimes I just chuck a toy at my children and I'm like, fight.
Fight to the death.
Show me which one Mummy loves.
So yes, similar to the way that Ellie parents her children, Nyaxia does good things. The night of the blood offerings ends up beginning, where basically everyone makes an offering to the goddess to participate in the Kajari. It's like a big ball, but like, you know, full of vampires. Our girl is there under the protection of Daddy and sees this like tall, odd-looking vampire staring at a pretty bleak fucking painting of a Rishan vampire falling to his death. We get this fucking moment. He glanced over his shoulder directly at me. His eyes were rust red, a striking enough colour to be visible even from across the room. His gaze was casually curious. Still, the intensity of it skewered me. Lots of skewering in this book, isn't there?
Oh my god, I would love for Rain to skewer me, honestly.
I honestly hope he skewers me.
Ugh, call me a
times.
kebab and call it a day.
But she like quickly like looks away, and then when she looks back, gone like magic. Nyaxia was like, actually, I take this one back.
He's too hot for you. Bye.
Yeah.
Bam, and the dirt is gone.
Literally. ShamWow. Our girl makes her blood offering and is officially entered into the Kajari. And one night later, like usually they get a little bit of resting time, but nah, Nyaxia's like, fuck you.
She's a real bitch.
We jump between like present time and like little interludes of like our girl when she first started living with the vampies. And we get this one where she first started living with Daddy Vampy. And for obvious reasons, she was very, very scared. And that's basically what it is. And it's like she hides in like the corner of her room between like the bookcase and the wall in the corner. Just like sits in there, like just curled up into a little ball. Which is so sad. Oh.
Which I mean, fair.
Makes sense. But we leave that trauma behind and we jump to current time where our girl is at the Kajari, which is being held at the Moon Palace. She like cuts her palm right off the bat, which is bad given she's in a tournament full of vampires.
Yeah,
Sick.
Not a strong start, babe.
No.
Really poor.
That's
like,
the Elena Gilbert in
job.
Yeah.
It is.
Babe, your Elena Gilbert is showing.
Reel that back in. So over the next 24 hours, she like finds Ilana's body because turns out Ilana, she just got dropped on in there and she dies hella quick. Brutally, like skin
Torn
fucking
apart.
peeled, like just torn to pieces. She also ends up killing the vampire that killed Ilana and she gets summoned, if you will, by the goddess to be like, the show must begin, bitches.
She's RuPaul.
So we find out, as previously stated, there are like 50 vampires in this tournament. We learn that even the people in religious power in this group are grossly inappropriate with children because the now minister, but it's not spelt like minister, it's spelt like Minotaur or something like that.
Ministre?
Like Ministera. Ministera.
Just chucked in an extra A for no apparent reason.
It did.
Yeah.
It
It's a
doesn't
fantasy
need
book. It's what you've got to do.
It's a fucking minister, but he tried to trap and corner our girl at 13. So
Yeah, look, it's not far off from... Yeah, anyway.
So we learn about the 5 trials here and the general rules. We also learn that they can kill each other outside of the trials, but the goddess, because she's fucked up, prefers it to be done inside the trials. So that's not very good news for our little When I wrote this, I was thinking about pasta. So I wrote humanoli.
Oh, no,
So-
thinking about pasta.
I'm always thinking about pasta. So, or any
Yeah.
type of carb, really. So
Humanoli.
it fits. Go for it.
So we find out that the mysterious stranger who was looking at that really morbid painting at the ball is here, and his name is Rain. I'm not going to try to say his last name because I'm going to fuck it up and it's probably going to be offensive.
Not Rain.
We also meet his friend and ally, Mish. Our girl meets with Vincent in like a special spot during this whole tournament, and he basically gives her like some new fighting swords, and on her way back to the palace, she runs into Rain. And they have this interchange, which is like a little friendly and a little flirty. It's like, oh, and we automatically get the feels straight away. We're all like, yep, hook us in. Where's the thunder?
To be fair, I still don't know if we're going to fuck our dad or not, so...
Big yikes. My literal next notes are blah, blah, blah. Now we're preparing for the first trial. Or if they've read the book, they know what the blah, blah, blah is. The blah, blah, blah. Oh my God. Kesha. Blah, blah, blah.
Coming into our blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so yes, we are now preparing for the first trial, and it begins by the Moon Palace disappearing and dum 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 dum. Yeah, sure.
Dum, dum, dum.
Demons appear. They are in this like gladiator type like coliseum with like people cheering about their oncoming death. Sick,
Nice.
awesome, great. The contestants have been like split into two teams, and surprise, Rain is on our team. Double thumbs
Fantastic.
up. And our girl ends up figuring out during like this battle that's going on that the demons were once blood, magic, cursed vampires.
They're the chlamydia affected
they-
ones.
Yeah, the chlamydia got real bad.
They're like koalas.
They're in this gladiator coliseum just healing koalas.
Yeah, exactly.
Steve
Giant
Irwin.
demonic
wouldn't-
koalas.
he
Steve,
would not
close your
do
eyes.
it.
Sorry, Steve Irwin. So basically, our girl finds out this is what's happening, and they need to destroy the hearts of the demons. But one of the demons, he's like the main dude. He has like this special little mark. It's like Simba on his head.
Boom.
If they kill it, they'll kill them all. That's basically what they figure out. And just as like our girl and Rain are working together to sort this out, our girl gets a fucking arrow through the leg by one of the other vampies.
Rude.
Like, that's like, all right, fuck it up. Sick. We can all die then, you selfish fucking prick.
That's what I would be like. I'd be throwing down my shit like tantrum. Fuck you then.
I'm not
gonna
doing
help.
this anymore.
So that's good. In the kerfuffle, Rain and our girl are still able to like work together to win, and our girl just like toddles out of the tournament with like a fucked leg bleeding and like a palace full of hungry vampires. So,
Seems super good.
but our girl is not doing well. She is in struggle central, but Rain comes to visit her and she has like a That's So Raven moment and sees like a memory of kissing necks and some hanky-panky, and we're like, whoa.
That's so
Weird.
Raven.
Rain is confused by her weird, like, off with the fairy stare, but he's like, you should work with me and Mish together in a threesome, throuple, if you will. He's like, we need teams for the Half Moon trial, so let's work together. And you know what? Just to sweeten up the deal a little bit, not only do you get to look at this fucking rock and bod, but here's a potion that will help heal your leg wound.
Oh my god.
Jamie rockin' butt.
She
Wow.
says no initially because she remembers like daddy's advice that she can't trust anyone, not even her daddy. But after basically almost dying for this entire event, she ends up accepting. She's like, you know what? If I want to actually survive, I should probably do this.
Isn't this also after she goes to see if Vincent's appeared at the bridge to give her potions to heal herself? Because he's watching all the trials, like he's in the crowd. He sees that she's been really badly injured and he's like, actually, lol jokes, I'm not going to show up.
Yeah, no, I'm a bit busy
Yes.
that night. I've got prior commitments. So
Daddy out, peace.
we're up to the next part in the book now. Araya's just simply passed out in the apartment of Rain and Misha. When she comes to, after they've healed her, which is quite nice of them, she meets Misha properly. She, again, just embodies a golden retriever energy. She's beautiful. We love her. Rain and Misha present their house guest with a welcome gift in the form of the head of the cunt who had recently just tried to kill her. Very, very
This
thoughtful.
moment.
I just
They're
love
like,
it.
"Eh, we got it for you. Are you
Look.
so stoked at this head? Like,
I know, it's like a vase. Look, you turn it upside down and you can just stick shit in it. And she's like, cool. Like,
I don't fucking
not
care.
ideal, guys. There's all that counts, without any gift. But they've got food, they've got blood, they've got a sick-ass apartment, and, life's sweet. Until Angelica from the Rugrats shows up to kill our girl. So, not so great. You'll see why I've referred to her as Angelica from the Rugrats, and that is because she just pops up with her evil-ass energy at the most inopportune moments. When our little gang is trying to get somewhere, she just pops up, and she just fucks shit up even more. Anyway, turns out she was quite fond of the now headless cunt and wants revenge. She and Rain get into it until she essentially declares that she will wait to kill Aurea in the trials. But
Sick.
Daddy isn't too pleased that Aurea has made new friends with some vampires, especially because he's a Rishan. He seems to forget that he, didn't show up to meet her when she quite literally was bleeding to death. So she did the only thing she could to save herself, but, semantics. Despite being entirely justified in her actions, Aurea is still displaying some kind of Stockholm syndrome with Daddy. She must be a good girl for him, which is weirdly sexual now.
Yep.
Very
You see?
weird.
You see.
Very weird. She's a good girl for her daddy. Okay, but literally she... Anyway, Rain and Aurea start training for the next trial together. They're equally as stubborn and they're just not really getting on too well. Rain takes a massive gamble and tries to coax out Aurea's shy magic by freaking her the fuck out until she squirts out some magic. And
Squirts?
she does.
That's the word you chose.
She squirts it out.
Squirts.
She squirts it out, some nightfire. Look, it's pretty voluptuous as it squirts out because it throws Rain out the window, but he's impressed by this. Aurea's kind of pissed off that things escalated to that point because, it's an embarrassing thing if you've never squirted magic before. I can get that, all right? But they do get into an argument here and she storms off and she goes to find Daddy, who's nowhere to be seen because, of course, he's not. He's never there when you fucking need him. But she does run into some stranger by the river who she buys a smoke from, which seems not at all suspicious. We move
Fairly
right along.
sure that when we had to go into that education school bus with Harold the giraffe,
yes.
It was do not take cigarettes specifically from strangers.
I believe there was a whole video montage of that.
To those that are not Australian, in Australia, when you were in maybe middle school, there was a bus that would come to your school and it had the picture of a giant giraffe on the side and they would teach you about don't do drugs. This is how bad your liver will look if you ever drink.
Yeah. It was so cool though. It was quite a psychedelic little van there.
It really was. It was a whole trip.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the
Which
opposite
I don't
effect
think
of
was
what-
the point, actually.
Anyway, Aurea finds her way back to the apartment and ends up having a chat with Mish about their history. We learn more about Nyaxia and her tragic past, but we really don't care right now because all we want is more banter with our sexy Ranger vampire, which, funnily enough, he's returning home. He returns home like
a milk-drunk toddler.
Oh.
What is it?
And then there's just got a little milk hanging from their mouth. They're just blissed out, man. My belly's full. I've got a clean nappy on that I'm about to shit in. Life's good. Okay, so Rain returns home and he's just drunk out of his mind. He's drunk as a skunk right now, and he gets scolded by Mish for being an asshole to Aurea. Which fair enough, because remember how he made her squirt the magic? He did it in a very aggressive way.
Remember how he made her squirt? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right in front of his friend as well.
I know, it's a weird time. He agrees, and that just shocks everyone because he's an attractive man who is also capable of self-reflection, so quite clearly he is fictional.
Quite obviously he's the love interest and not your father.
Yeah.
Good point, yes. We get to the next trial, which turns out to be some form of fucked up maze, and Aurea's first challenge is to kill Ibrahim to get through the next part. I don't think we've touched on him yet, but essentially this poor bastard was born to it, just cunts, really. They saw him as a threat and they were like, well, let's just fuck him up, and they mangled his leg, they ripped out his teeth.
They hobbled their own son and ripped out his insides. So he's just there with gaps being oh.
He obviously seems quite handicapped. He puts up a hell of a fight. And, Kale ought to earn a lesson from this guy about resilience and such things, because just because you're handicapped doesn't mean you can't do things.
Doesn't mean you can't murder people.
Exactly right. He doesn't even have teeth. And look at him go. Now we do get quite a confusing moment here where Aurea ends up fighting Ibrahim by biting him. I'm confused. We have a quote. Let me read it to you. But I could still devour him with 100 little bites. Let that poison do its work, slowly. Injured or no, he was bigger than me. I got him to the ground, crawled over his body, opening mark after mark after mark in his armour. First of all, what is with the previous sort of books we've covered with our female main characters biting shit lately? Secondly, how does she suddenly have poison in her teeth? Have I missed something? What's happening?
I do believe that it was her blades have poison.
Yeah.
And so I think it was, I don't think it was literal little bites. I think it's little stabs.
Right. No, I have fully pictured her like a hamster just nibbling. I'm like, this is weird.
Slicing with her
Slicing.
blade.
Okay, good. There we are. So she does win and she leaves him to die on the slab so that she can get through. And she runs on by and discovers something that is considered worse than a rapist, a child. She clearly has more humanity than the three of us because she stops to help the poor thing, whereas we all would have been like, not my monkeys, not my circus, if you will.
Exactly.
So this ends up nearly killing her in the end, but everything is fine because Rain appears. He helps protect them from Angelica, who again has just appeared like all good villains do. Despite being on death's door, Araya will not let go of the child. She crawls to the end of the maze, holding the kid, and before she passes out, she tells Rain to not let them take her, and he promises, and I love him.
Seriously.
She does not yeet the child. She does not yeet the fetus.
We've had a few books at the moment where a child is thrown into danger or potentially, tipped into a lake. There's quite a few ways a child has died in previous books. Not this one. No.
Nope, not this one.
This person is pro-life.
So Araya comes to. She's recovering in their apartment again. Misha doesn't really know what's happened because Araya's like, where's the child? And she's like, oh, yeah, fuck, I don't know about that because she's just been telling her about the rest of the, event. And yeah, Araya's not doing too great. She assumes the worst and off she storms. So she ends up going to blow off some steam in her favourite way, which is by reenacting the Blade movies. And I do get one of my favourite quotes here. Animal. Fucking rot there with the shit and the piss and the trash, just like all the other rat carcasses. I love her. It's so good. And Rain has been secretly watching her this whole time. Like, she's killed 3 vampires at this point, and he just has like a raging boner because this girl is just out there doing some vigilante shit, and he cannot resist her Taylor Swift quote, if anyone's out there listening to that. Yeah. As it turns out, Rain held true to his promise and did manage to keep the girl safe and take her to an orphanage. So they decide to change their training into bonding over killing vampires, and it's really quite sweet, and I love it.
Yeah.
Then Araya meets with her daddy again, and she's like, yo, why the fuck was there a kid in that trial? And he's like, why not? Fuck it up, fam. And, that doesn't go down too well. But yet, it's still not enough for Araya to fully distrust her weirdly sexy dad.
I really appreciate you doing the work out here to highlight the sexual tension with the dad figure.
I think it's because he's her age as well. Doesn't help.
It feels different than paternal for a lot of it. Like, there's moments of paternal, but there's something else there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed. But training starts going really well for our star-crossed lovers, and their sexual tension is building, which we all are here to enjoy. After slaughtering just about every vampire in the human district, Araya and Rain take a smoko, and they end up at a pub for a schooner. Apologies to American listeners. I just said that they had a break, and they've gone to a pub for a beer.
My God. That was the most Aussie thing I think I've ever heard come out of your mouth.
Represent. They bond over cheap beer, and Rain finally asks the question we've all been thinking, which is, you're just some human girl, and the king of the Nightborn, well known to be a cold, ruthless bastard, just has a moment of compassion and decides to take you in. Why?
Good question.
Why indeed? Why indeed? We don't get an answer to this question because their conversation gets interrupted by an attack on the Moon Palace. They race back to find Mish unconscious in their apartment, half burnt to death with her guts are hanging out. There's weird demons also there, and it's just a whole time, really.
The giant koalas, they pack.
Rain gets Mish out of there, and Araya seizes this opportunity to let her light shine. And I'd really like to cue the religious song. Play that
my God.
No.
Let your light shine.
You can tell I'm not religious.
It was all imprinted. I've tried to burn it out, and yet it's still there. She burns the fuckers out with Nightfire. She just squirts it out of her, dead.
Oh my God, she kills the koalas in a bushfire.
Oh my God, she does!
Oh my God, Coochie bushfire.
Coochie bushfire. Bushfire by the Coochie, fuck. War is breaking out in the city, and Rain tells Araya her daddy is a cunt, and she's not too sure what to believe at this point because she's like, I've seen a lot from both sides. I'm weirdly still attracted to my father. You're going to have to show me some more death before I believe you. So in the aftermath of the attack, Rain gets taken by daddy's guards for questioning simply because he's Rashan, which is kind of like, yes, government.
Racial profiling at its finest.
Yeah, love that. Meanwhile, they seek to have Mish excluded for the rest of the trials because, our girl's not doing too hot. But the goddess is like, yeah, nah, she'll be right. Araya doesn't take that news too well and takes things into her own hands, quite literally, as she goes off to have some old minister suck her hand as a blood offering. So now here we go, another old creepy guy who works at a church. He likes having young people around, pedo vibes. Really? I'm just going to leave that there. So Rain gets released from... Shame. We just start throwing tomatoes at him.
Just like... No, I was hoping that would ding more. Like, ding. Hold on, let me try this. Hold on. Shame.
Oh. Shame.
You
lock them in a cage. This is what I think that we should do to all like the really, really, really bad people in the world is you lock them in a cage and then you throw tomatoes at them and just leave them on like Parliament House steps or something and just be like, this is where they die.
Look, that's very tame, honestly. I thought it was going to go a lot darker.
No, I just think they should still live because they need to live with the bad things that they've done and fuck them. They don't get a quick death. They don't get an easy death. And you just throw shit and then people just walk past, just like kick the cage. Someone might take a shit on it. Someone might piss on it, throw some fruit at it, throw some rocks even.
I think they should be put in a cage in the sewer system.
Oh, yeah, it needs to smell. My dad and I have a bus that we put people on and the bus gets driven off a cliff. So if we don't like you, you go on the bus.
Look, that's fair.
Anyway, so Rain gets released from Daddy's care and he has some not so pleasant interaction with a whip here. Araya stitches him up and we find out some more information on Mish's past. It turns out she was a priestess as a human. She came out to this region as a missionary, not the position, but actually like a servant to God. And when she turned, she was left for dead.
It should be noted the amount of missionaries that go to places that they really have no business going. And they're like, my God, we'll protect me. And it's like, will they though?
Will they though? Mormons, we're looking at you.
I was thinking of that random American Christian guy that got on a canoe and went to like a island community that's literally like the UN is like, no one can go to this island. And this fucker's like, you know what? Jesus needs to be there and canoed over there and then they killed him.
Yeah, look, fair
enough. Him right.
So whenever she uses her magic from her god as a vampire, she is now punished by him with burns over her body, which is kind of fucked up. Sounds like a bit of a dick.
Sad.
We also, in this moment, as she's stitching up our dude's back, get a glimpse of what could be some weird birthmark on his back. But it's rude to stare, so we quickly move on. They do this thing where they tell each other one honest thing, and I just fucking love that. Love it. Rain ends up taking Mish to a mate's place, and when he gets back, the third trial begins. In this one, they share one mind and have to kill weird-looking beast demons and the other contestants. Which, speaking of, Ibrahim is still kicking.
Honestly, I'm really impressed with Ibrahim.
Yeah. Our girl just dominates these trials. She's so fucking smart and strong, and she ends up kicking ass. She and Rain work as a team until Rain is nearly beaten by Angelica, who, of course, has, again, just popped back up in the right moment. Araya doubles back to take on Angelica's mind partner and ends up slicing his leg to the bone. Let that sink in for a minute. Fuck that. He, though, is a right old cunt, and he just stabs her in the side and then throws her into a pack of demon beasts. And now this is where you think, game over, Red Rover. But no, Araya tries to tap into her magic and it doesn't work. But then, rather than hearing Daddy's voice in her head, she hears Rain say into her mind, fuck that guy. And wham bam, magic is squirting. Here we go.
Wham bam, thank you, ma'am.
Magic is squirting. Everywhere, all over the arena. She's just poo, poo.
Poo. No, it actually comes out of her vagina, but it sounds like a queef.
So it's also very embarrassing for her at the same time.
But it's very empowering, She's in her power. And she's just
would she have to have
everywhere.
crotchless leathers on for this to work?
What are they fucking called? What are the cowboys?
Chaps.
Got fucking chaps on. god.
Fuck me, that's amazing. Okay, well, she does kill all of the demons around her, so that's good. And Rain's just looking at her like she's a goddess, which, yeah, she's in chaps just squirting all over people. We agree.
In the middle of like a
is.
death match. She's like, now's the time.
Watch my glory. Okay, we get the next part.
Glory.
Watch my glory.
Okay, we start the next part of the book with another interlude back to her as a teenager, and this time she's getting frisky with her teenage vampire lover, Edward. Things start great until they turn not so great, and we have some quotes here. Perhaps it was when his thrust got too fast, too hard, the pleasure to pain balance disrupted despite her muffled words of hesitation. Perhaps it was when she tried to sit up, seize control, but he forced her back down, the sharp edge of his fingernails opening up little bloody wounds on her flesh.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
No.
not great. And it doesn't really get much better from there. So she ends up running off to Daddy, who comforts her and decides this is a great learning opportunity for their parent-child relationship.
Yeah, of course he's like, this is a teachable moment.
It is. Back in present time, we get a round of applause for Ibrahim, who again has managed to survive yet another trial.
I'm so proud of him.
Snaps to Ibrahim at this point in time. And now Araya and Rain are faced with the decision of whether they kill each other now or later. They say YOLO and keep ignoring the reality of the situation. And then the creepy old dude from the church throws them all a ball at the Moon Palace, and our girl gets to wear a sexy purple dress. She's feeling a little awkward until she thinks of what Alana would say, which is, you'd better wear that dress. You better show those cunts.
And what Alana actually means is because she wears those chaps, so she's like, just show your cunt. Like, just get it out.
Exactly right.
Literally show your cunt.
Pussy popping.
Pussy is bad to all.
And the song when she enters into the into the ball is actually, "Oh, you ladies pop your pussy like this."
And when she danced with Daddy Vincent, it's what?
My
On the top, go get drunk.
Araya ends up doing a father-daughter dance with Daddy, who is surprisingly tender in this moment and does enough to throw us off the trail that he's actually the bad guy here.
Especially
So
considering she's queefing on him.
And they're dancing to WAP. He essentially tells her she is the greatest accomplishment of his life as she's queefing. They finish their dance, and Araya trots off to find Rain. She ends up bumping into Angelica again, and the strange dude from the lake that they met that one time. Turns out he's a bad vampire, and they have been plotting. They then throw some insult at Rain and say, I think Nezarin. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Araya, isn't it? Who the fuck is Nezarin? Who the fuck is this bitch? I don't care if you're centuries years old. It's me and only me. Our girl asks exactly that question, and Rain tells her she's an odd friend. We are not satisfied with that answer.
We are
They're on
not
the bus.
stupid, Rain.
We end up on a rooftop with Rain, drinking awful beer, and it's fucking romantic. Nezarin, who? Araya is starting to notice his sexiness, and their gazes are turning heavy. Araya is left thinking she really won't be able to kill this beautiful beast of a man when the time comes. They make a truce not to kill each other for that night, which turns out to be for a few weeks, and we're all okay with this. And as if this man couldn't get any better, he fucking cooks. After nearly having an orgasmic experience eating his food, Rain says, that wasn't how I'd imagined making you come for the first time. Sorry.
Roll smash.
My God. Well, they take the food to Mish and meet some of Rain's friends, which give off some weird vibes. But when they get back to the Moon Palace, they realise that everyone's now locked in, and there's no more food, and there's no more blood. Thankfully, our guy is resourceful and has been storing rations, but, things aren't looking good if they're held captive for too long, which is exactly what happens. The first few weeks are fine, because they really just play house, and Araya sets up this, little mirror for Rain to see the sun, and it's really thoughtful and beautiful, and we adore it. But then he runs out of blood and shit just gets weird. They get into a fight because Araya is like, dude, I'm literally your version of a Big Mac just chilling here. Of course you're going to take a bite.
Oh my God.
Fucking hell. They have a huge fight and they separate for the night. The next day, the trial begins, and here we have poisonous smoke, starving bloodlust vampires, and a poisoned blood source, turning them even more loony. So our girls, she works all this out fairly fucking quickly and ends up saving Rain before he eats poisoned Bambi. She drags him into a cave and realizes in this moment to save him, she must dry hump him to the point of climax while he nibbles her neck, and it works.
Oh my God, that's what happened to Bambi's mum.
There's so much to unpack. Bambi's
mum.
Bambi, dry humping.
Dry humping. Nibbling on the neck.
Nibble, nibble.
Bambi's mum.
So, you know what? He's saved. She's horny. And most importantly, he has a list of things he wants to do to her. A motherfucking list. And if you're not excited yet, what is wrong with you? He also says that she is the most stunning thing he has ever seen. Take that, Nezerin. Unfortunately, we do still need to finish this trial, which involved an invisible cloak from Harry Potter, some counting, and a quick fly. So their half-baked plan is kind of working when they rock up to this giant crater, which turns out to be Araya's former hometown reduced to rubble. Daddy appears to have destroyed everything and everyone. She's quite rightly in a state of shock and doesn't quite see Ivan coming for her. Rain manages to yeet him off into the poisonous smoke while Angelica watches, and you know, that's quite brutal. Sorry, Angelica, in that. But we don't really care because our couple survives, as does none other than our dear friend Ibrahim.
Ibrahim! So proud of you!
Fuck it up, buddy.
So
they get back to the Colosseum where the trials usually occur, and they see hundreds of bodies staked that are either dead and or dying. And if this isn't a sign that Daddy is a cruel bastard, I don't know what is.
We start off part 6 of the book with this interlude where we see that it's 2 days after she was assaulted by that vampy boyfriend, and her daddy has a gift for her, and it's that boy. Daddy-O hands her a knife and says, "It's now time to teach you how to kill." We get 2 quotes. There are moments in one's life that remain permanently distilled in memory. Some wither within minutes and others are carved forever into our souls. This image of the boy she loved begging her for mercy would follow her for the rest of her life. Look, that one, I'm not going to lie, after how this book ends, I'm scared that that's foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
Quote 2, strange that girls are so often told that the loss of their virginity marks a threshold between girlhood and womanhood, as if it fundamentally alters them in some way. It was not the sex that changed the girl forever, not the blood that spilled between her thighs that shaped her. The blood that spilled over that marble floor, though, those are the stains on one's innocence that never fade.
Big oof.
Big oof. Back in real time, Rain and Araya are back at the Moon Palace, and like Araya is still just like bleeding all over the damn place from Ivan, and so Rain is patching her up in the apartment while Araya is just like feeling all the feelings about all those dead bodies in that stadium. Rain and Araya basically hold hands and it's kind of cute, but then Araya is still trying to defend her father despite said bodies in the stadium. In their argument, Araya reveals her motivation to become the courier tie for her father, which is the whole reason why she's in this competition to begin with, so that they could be bonded, which again seems super normal for a father-daughter relationship. Rain goes off and it's obviously testing Araya's beliefs in like everything and the way she sees the world, and so she decides to go and get answers from her father. When she confronts Vincent, we get this exchange where he is like alternating between Vincent the King and Vincent the father, and in like a really odd power move, Vincent the King drags her to the dining hall where like vampire soldiers are feeding on humans.
Yeah, that was odd.
He's just like, bitch, look at this.
Weird flex, but okay. Vincent is like, humans are livestock, but you're special, so don't try to be like them. And then Vincent the King grabs her and is literally like breaking the skin on her wrist and drawing blood. He lets her go, and Vincent the father is like appalled by his actions, but like the damage is done.
Yeah.
Araya like takes her anger to the streets and is just like killing vampires left, right, and center. Rain finds
step up, but like step up to the streets.
In the rain?
Not a dance battle.
Where's
It's a
Miss?
battle of feelings. So Rain finds her and stops her. She's just like pulverizing a corpse. Rain accidentally touches her injured wrist and like she winces and tries to hide it, but he obviously notices. Araya is on the defensive and is like, why do you care about me? Why do you care if I'm injured? And he's like, are you actually being fucking serious right now? And then because she was in fact being a little bit silly and she knew it, she kisses him. It's on. Her back is against the wall and they're moaning and groaning, but they decide that the aesthetics are off. They're not giving the right vibes because, you know, the pulverized corpse not even a meter from them is just a bit not on it.
Yeah.
Smells a bit funky. They go back to the Moon Palace to make the most of their last night together because the final challenge is coming up. In this moment, we also get a hint of wing play, so I'm excited for that to be a thing. Thank you, everyone. They're both quite simply devastated by how hot the other is, and honestly, we're so happy for them. Rain realizes, both from like being in her mind during that other trial and then looking at the scar on her neck, he realizes what happened with her lover, and he says that she is in control of whatever happens between them.
Oh my
I'm fine.
God,
I'm so fine.
He is so fucking
So
fictional.
feral.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Okay, I'm just going to take a minute because if you thought that was a lot, let me paint the picture of this fucking with these quotes. Strap in your titties. Brace yourself. We're squirting everywhere. Quote 1. I've done a lot of thinking about this. What I would do to you, what you might sound like. I have all kinds of experiments to conduct.
Oh, yes.
Quote 2. Say that again, he rasped, when you come for me. This time, when he lowered his lips to me again, he slid 2 fingers inside of me, giving me everything, everything, everything. With one long, forceful stroke of his tongue, the new combination of sensations was too much. Pleasure consumed me. My back arced violently against the bed, and I gave him exactly what he wanted. I moaned his name again and again and again.
Feral.
Wow.
Quote 3. We're not done. We're not done yet. I would beg, he murmured. For you, I would. You have fucking destroyed me, Araya. Do you know that? Oh my god! What is this?
Smash.
Smash. What is it about a man saying that he would beg?
Feral! Someone get me a fucking hanky because I'm dripping.
Quote 4. You're holding back. His silence was my answer. Slowly I rose again, so that only his tip was left within me, never looking away from him, from the feral desire in his eyes, the way his teeth closed around his lip. Don't, I whispered, and took his entire length in one sudden thrust. The tension, the tenderness, shattered into a million pieces along with Briony's pelvic floor. Oh, quote 5.
Oh my god, there's more.
The sound that escaped my throat didn't even sound human. He rolled his hips again, mine meeting the movement on nothing but instinct, and I realized the sound was a plea, begging for I didn't even know what. Yes, Araya, he growled. Fuck yes, anything.
Oh my god.
Quote 6. One night, I don't plan on wasting any of it. I have a list, remember? A list, I thought as he kissed me again, hard, and my arms fell around his neck and I lost myself in him all again. A fucking list. The most beautiful word in the goddess-damned world.
I simply do not have the stamina for that. I
just
make the fucking stamina for that, mate. I will be like, all right, if I need to just take a breather, you can still fuck me. It's all right.
Yeah,
I'll just be over here sipping my drink of water. You can still go.
She's going to get a UTI.
If that's how I go, that's how I go. As Georgia has said before, I'll go out doing what I love, being absolutely proud. Post-fuck. Araya is realising that she's actually quite fond of Rain and actually does not want him to die. Rain gives Araya his traumatic backstory about how he was turned into a vampire and was then used as a sex slave by the vampire who turned him. He ended up falling in love with this old vampire's wife, Nessanin or whatever her fucking face is, and when things turned to shit, he left and she stayed behind and died.
So she fucking deserved.
Ellie's thrilled by this turn of events. Araya has a moment that Ellie cannot relate to, where she is grateful that loving old mate's wife saved Rain's life.
He could have found another way out. I'm sorry.
Rain does mention that as a human he had a wife and was expecting a child, and so now that's unsettling because anyone could just be out there being related to him.
Exactly right.
God.
Exactly right. Yeah. There is a child out there.
You don't just drizzle that in there.
No.
For nothing.
There is a child. That means he's had a former lover. He's had sex with another 2 women.
Is it the other book?
We don't know. We don't have the intel. So ultimately, Araya and Rain make a deal that they will both fight until the end, even if that means fighting each other, which is extremely traumatic and I don't like it. The final trial begins and they're basically facing puppet versions of the gods, because the whole idea of the trials is that they're based around the story of how their goddess became a goddess. So they're basically facing puppet versions of the gods that Nyaxia fought. Once Araya kills them, though, she goes through to the next part, and Ibrahim is the next to show up. At this stage, it's like Final Four. It's Rain, Araya, Angelica, and Ibrahim, and he's first. So I just really wanted to give him his moment, you know?
Yes, he is the Beyonce of this story.
Oh my god, okay, fuck it up, Jesus. So he shows up, and he's not doing well. He's missing an eye now, and the audience is laughing at him. She gives him a fair death, and he says he's glad it was her in the end. It's actually quite nice. nice. Bye, Ibrahim. So Rain arrives next, but Angelica is close behind. Angelica has it out for our gal. Rain is like trying to divert her attention away, but Angelica's like, nope, Araya's ass is grass. Angelica is about to deliver like the killing blow to Araya when there's this moment, like Rain looks to the crowd and nods. Moments later, Angelica lets her magic slip and Araya gets in the killing blow.
Weird,
basically,
iffy vibes.
Weird vibes. And it basically leaves our two lovebirds forced to kill each other.
No.
We knew each other's strengths and weaknesses and habits. I knew not only when he would move, but how he would respond when I did. Each lunge was the result of half a dozen calculations based on the innate knowledge of each other that we had accumulated over the last months. It felt perverse, depraved to use that intimacy to kill each other.
No, well then you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Heartbreak.
Carissa has discovered my own personal weakness and rips out our hearts as they basically repeat lines that they said in bed to each other, but now it's in the throes of trying to kill each other. Ugh.
Yeah, that's
like the don't hold back, want to die.
Oh my god, I know.
So Araya kind of gets lost into like a blood haze and then realizes she's got him on the ground and she's about to deliver the killing blow. And we get this quote. And again, is anyone surprised that I have the most quotes? You shouldn't be. Let's not lie. Quote is, my blade was at his chest. His hand gripped my wrist hard. His lips curled into a smirk and he whispered, there she is. All at once, I realized what he had been doing. He had been baiting me just like he had baited the man in the feast all those months ago. He had been fighting me so hard to make me fight back with just as much strength.
No.
I'm going to be actually sick.
I want to die. There she is. Ugh.
Sickening.
We don't know if she moved or if Rain like pulls her down, but it's done. Araya drives her blade through Rain's heart and he dies. She is sobbing over his corpse. It's horrific. And then the goddess appears, Nyaxia herself.
Squirting everywhere.
Squirting everywhere. We do not have time for grief. Nyaxia is hot as fuck and also terrifying as hell. So mark me down as scared and horny. Nyaxia is like, oh my gosh, girl, are you sad about killing your boyfriend? It's all G, babe, because dead lovers cannot break your heart. Yikes.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. That helps.
Araya looks at Vincent across the arena as she's about to like make her wish, right? It's a make-a-wish.
Oh my god.
Because Vincent, aka Daddy, taught her to look the people in the eye as she kills him. So she makes direct eye contact with her dad and says, fuck you, Dad, and wishes that Rain had won instead. Rain is not relieved to be alive. So that's odd. But also Mummy Goddess is amused. In fact, several people are looking amused in a very scary way. Rain wishes that the power of the Rishan heir is restored to him. Restored because Rain is the Rishan heir. Chaos erupts. The power is back. Vincent decides to try and kill Rain, but it's barely even a fight. Vincent is on death's door. Rain is knocking. Vincent whispers something in Rain's ear, and then they both look at Araya, and Rain mouths at her to turn away. She obviously doesn't, and so ends up watching Rain kill Vincent.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Araya stumbles over to Vincent's body, and Vincent says, like, he's about to die. You know, it's like his last words. He's like coughing up blood. He looks awful. And Vincent says that he was going to tell her, but then he dies before he can finish the sentence.
Not good enough, mate. Get those words out quickly.
Rain is like dragging Araya off. We get another fucking curveball because FYI, we didn't really mention this, but the heirs, the king, so like Vincent had a super sick neck tattoo. That's what the heirs get when you're that bitch. You've got some serious ink. When you're that bitch. And so it turns out Araya is now that bitch because red ink spreads across her chest. And what do you know? Araya is now the Hiaj heir. Everyone of Rain's people is like, oh my god, kill her now. Like, burn it with fire. But Rain is like, put a pin in that idea. I've got a better one. I took Vincent's kingdom, Rain snarled. I took his life. I took his title. And now I will take his daughter. I'll make her my wife. Keep her close where I can keep an eye on her. And I'll make sure it hurts when I fuck her. Just like it did when he raped our queen 200 years ago.
I'm sorry?
And like old mate Rain is like performing right now. And I mean, we as the readers know his feelings because we've seen it. So we know they're real. Araya is obviously traumatized and has no clue what to believe. Rain like drags her away and knocks her the fuck out before she can do anything else. When she comes to, she is in her bedroom in the palace where she was raised and is now just out here with a full neck tattoo.
It's a bold choice.
Rain appears and basically convinces her to give him a shot at explaining things. And he gives us the backstory about how he became heir and confirms that he had made a deal with the House of Blood for military support to save Araya from Angelica in that final trial. But he was honestly just like happy to die because he didn't want to fulfill his deal with the koalas with chlamydia. He was like, that's not my vibe and I don't really like the decisions I've had to make.
We get this quote at this moment. I cannot live without this quote being known by all of mankind because it destroyed my soul. Rain says, I was ready to let it all go for you, he murmured. Do you know that, Araya? I was ready to let my kingdom fall for you. You should have let me stay dead. I'm sorry? He would have let his kingdom fall for you?
Yeah, look, the peasants.
I'm done.
So it's Araya's time to confirm that she has no fucking clue how she is the heir. Best bets is obviously that she is a halfling, and so Vincent is legitimately her daddy, so thank God we did not fuck him.
Yeah, that's good.
Araya is like, also, I'm not marrying you, FYI. And Rain is like, well, you absolutely are. 1, we would make a great team. But 2, I really cannot kill you because that pussy do in fact be popping.
It does.
It's
we know,
squirting.
we've seen it. It's the chaps.
Squirting. It's the chaps. It's squirting. So now there's just a priestess and we're getting married. She says the vows, except she refuses to give him her heart. But he's like, look, I get it, trauma, etc. Moral of the story is that they are now husband and wife in marriage. Rain leaves her alone for like 5 fucking minutes. And then Jessamine, which FYI, Jessamine was like her father's general. We just ignored her, but she's back. She's hanging from the window just casually. And so she's like, I'm actually loyal to the bloodline. So as much as Vincent seems like a really cool dude with some weirdly fuckable energy with his daughter, I'm actually loyal to you now, Araya, as my leader. And Jessamine even offers to weirdly help Araya unbind the marriage vows and said she's done it before. And it's like a really weird moment. And Araya's like, actually, we don't have enough intel. So just put a pin in that.
Yeah, because she just exposes her whole chest to her. She's like, look, if you want out of this marriage,
here are my tits.
Yeah, pretty much.
Feel one, and then feel the other, and then decide how you feel
done.
after.
Exactly right.
We literally end the book with this moment. For one moment, it was all laid bare. My friend, my enemy, my lover, my captor, king and slave, human and vampire, and perhaps the only other person who had ever really understood what it was like to have a heart that bled both red and black. I hated him and I loved him.
Oh my God.
We literally end the book with Rain and Araya holding hands, staring at each other as they realise what a shit show the world has become.
Oh my God.
Feral.
I'm obsessed with that book.
This book is fucking crack.
It's fucking crack.
We are meth moles to this book.
Absolutely are.
Well, as with all of the best books we cover on this podcast, it is only fitting that this book also has a T-Swift music reference. So I really like the song Treacherous for describing the relationship between Araya and Rain, because it's sort of like the push and pull of their relationship. She knows that they shouldn't, but they are.
Together they make a rainbow.
Oh my God, they're amazing. Oh my God, they do. Okay, so put your lips close to mine as long as they don't touch, out of focus, eye to eye, till the gravity is too much. And I'll do anything you say if you say it with your hands. I'd be smart to walk away, but you're quicksand.
Oh, I love them.
I love that song.
Well, I'm so happy because normally, like, if you get a book that's fairly recent, it takes a while for the fan art to build up, but we've already got some, and I can't wait for there to be even more, honestly. So, Castleintheskky, Araya, Rain, and the goddess Nyaxia.
Which is the best. Like, it honestly,
Perfect.
there is nothing that will compare to that.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. Then by Storywrappers, Rain and Araya with like some neck action. Then by Cir.arts, we have Rain and Araya. But you know, he's got his beautiful feathery wings out. He's all red and shit, and I love him. And then by Mageonduty, they have done some individual portraits of Araya, and that is my favourite Araya to date, FYI?
We have by Lauri.arts, and that is basically a cartoon version of Rain and Araya sitting on the roof drinking beers. Then we have listening_stars_, and that's Rain and Araya like back to back, like obviously after one of their heated rows. Then we have by Romantasyart, another one of Araya and Rain, and he's like caressing her face and she's like showing him her neck. And then my favorite is by Annahenriart, Henry spelled with an I. It is of Rain and Araya, and he's like tipping her chin up. Feral.
Well, that is all of our fan art and music references for Serpent and the Wings of Night. And like we said at the beginning of this episode, the second book comes out tomorrow as we're recording this. So we will be covering that very, very soon. In the meantime, our next episode is from our fishbowl. It is the Love Hypothesis by Ellie Hazelwood, which we have not talked about our fishbowl in a while. So FYI, for those that are new, we do actually have a fishbowl full of book recs that you guys have given us that we are drawing names from. Just every now and then we get distracted. I am so excited for Love Hypothesis. And then we'll be back with Carissa Broadbent after that.
Yes.
Thank you everyone for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. We love you. Check us out on social media. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to our podcast. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube if you haven't already at A Book and a Bev podcast.
Please rate, like, and subscribe. We hear that helps.
We love and appreciate you, and we'll see you next week.